Hey everyone, and welcome back to Stand By Go, the theater podcast out of Asheville, North Carolina. Today's guest is somebody that I got the pleasure to work with about a year and some months in the past when I did Alice in Wonderland. And please welcome the Queen of Hearts and all of our hearts, Heather Rudzenski.
Hey everyone, what's going on?
Hey.
Hey John.
So, like the meanest person in the show, the meanest character in the show,
Oh yeah,
played by one of the nicest that I've ever met. So,
well, that's nice. Thank you.
let's go back. Let's just go back to that character since we're talking
Okay.
about it right now. How fun was it to play that character?
It really was amazing because, excuse me, I normally do a lot more serious roles, which is kind of funny too because I love making people laugh. But this role was so awesome because I got to play a character. You know, I got to make almost a cartoon version of this actually very complicated woman. You know, there's a lot of layers to her, even though she's just, you know, comes off this harsh woman. There are some silly parts that I had a lot of fun doing.
Yeah, it was just a lot of fun just getting to hear you, especially at the end of Act 1 when you're just like off with the head from the top of our amazing set.
That was so good.
Although I will say I was nervous every night with you like leaning over the top of that.
Oh, really?
8 foot tall platform. I'm always afraid of people on platforms, but it's just, I stood up there one time. I was like, this is very high up for somebody who's afraid of heights.
You know, I am afraid of heights at this point in my life. I wasn't when I was younger, but gradually with time, I have become a little frightened of it, but I wasn't scared up there. You know what I was nervous about? That huge dress, which was incredible and made by Karina, walking down the stairs in the dark.
Yeah.
After Act 1. Oh my gosh. I stepped on it quite a few times on the back of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I remember like having to wait for you to come down those stairs. I was just can somebody tell me when she's down? Somebody tell me when she's down.
Please,
like,
please.
Not yet.
We started shuffling me down
the,
early after that.
Yeah, I had to wait till y'all were gone before I could bring up the house lights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was an amazing. All the costumes for that show made by Karina were amazing.
Yeah,
but incredible. I really, really loved y'all's wigs.
Made out of pool noodles.
Yeah, pool noodles. Yeah. So incredible. They probably looked, they looked very heavy, but they were, I'm assuming, very light.
They were very light, and my Marge Simpson, you know, tall hairdo, it was awesome. And I'm very thankful and grateful that it wasn't top heavy.
Oh yeah.
But it had a good gravity pull.
Yeah. So why don't you kind of just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about like your history in theater and just kind of what got you started in it and a little bit about your theater career and background.
Okay, cool. My family used to go out to LA and we would go see pilots. So I think I was around 11 and I thought, I really, really want to do that. I want to be an actor. And I remember asking my parents, let's find something about it, you know, with auditions or anything. But I danced my 5 days a week. I did everything from ballet, pointe, character, tap, jazz. So I was performing, but I was really into sports. Very good at sports. However, I broke my back when I was about 14 and was down the road. This took a long time, but down the road it was brace, body cast. Eventually, I was told that I wasn't going to walk again and I was going to be in a wheelchair. And I was like, absolutely not. And I had a lot of support. So once I got the body cast off, my track coach wanted me to run pretty hard. And I said, okay. So I ran a little bit harder. I fell 10 feet in front of the finish line during a race for states. I did the 100-meter and I fell, 10 feet in front of the finish line. I was first. I was third in the state of Virginia for running. And after that, it kind of pushed me right into the theater. A lot of my friends at the time were stopped talking to me, and I didn't know why. And finally, one person said, "Oh, it's because you're gay." Well, this was before I knew I was gay. So I ended up making amazing friends in the theater, and that was such a gift to me, to find genuine people that were not out there trying to impress each other all the time. We just had fun, non-judgmental, just love. It was really amazing. So I finally got into that senior year of high school. I had a coach that helped me get into the University of Northern Colorado, and 12 people out of 800 auditions got in, and I was one of them. So it was very, very cool to meet these professors and professional actors and performers and techies and, all sorts of stuff. But, I played a little too hard and had a really good time. So eventually I went to film school in New York, and I did a lot of acting there. I did quite a few B films and voiceovers, and I actually did burlesque for a while, 3 years, and which was awesome because it was during the Bush agenda and lots of protests, and we had something to say. We had a story behind everything. And then I moved up to New Hampshire to go back to school, and I was giving up theater. I was giving up acting because it was just insane in New York, and it was great, but at the same time, very hard. Well, I jumped back in the theater once I got back into school and finished with a director's degree as well as emphasis in acting. So
yeah, people don't tend to stay away from theater too often.
I can't. You can't. No way. And like I said, I mean, you make family. It just feels good. It just feels good, and you work so hard together to bring all sorts of emotions out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What brought you to North Carolina?
I started a theater company for kids. It's called Kid Stage. About 3 years ago. Yeah. And I've been doing full shows. We did the Jungle Book one year. We did Alice in Wonderland. We did, all sorts of shows. And what I decided, I'm going to start doing camps instead of after school, because I love getting that full week where they can, we can dive into it together, and it's an adrenaline rush for a week, and then they get to perform in front of their peers, in front of their people. So I started that company to build confidence and self-esteem within children, because, as we know, this world is wild, especially right now. And they need to be able to stick up for themselves in a positive light, not fighting, and like I said, it's a safe space. That's one of my things is you are not allowed to bully or laugh at each other in a mean way, or you can't participate. And I was bullied pretty hard growing up, and that is just one thing. I don't want kids to have to work through that and deal with that harsh bullying, not just regular, teasing and hurt feelings, to affect them the rest of their life. Because some people aren't able to get help, and that just kills me. So just having fun, safe space, create together, there's something very powerful in that.
Yeah, I love working with kids theater because I do. I've stage managed and been an assistant director for kids shows at ACT, and it's just really fun. It's sometimes very frustrating, but
Yes.
it's very rewarding at the end to see
Oh,
them put on a show. Um, Almost sometimes more so than when I'm like the stage manager of a main stage show.
I
Like it's
can understand that.
like
Yeah.
they're different, but I
Hmm.
think it's just, especially when you have like that, I don't know how young you go, but like that 5-year old
Yes.
who like never paid attention and whatever, and then the lights turn on and he's like the best
Boom.
little squirrel that you've ever seen, and you're
Yeah.
just like, and they're excited, like
Mm,
they run into the theater. And uh yeah, it's I didn't do theater in a theater or like that until I was in high school.
yeah.
Mainly because I didn't show like, hey, I'm going to do this, and my
Right.
parents never put me in anything that I didn't show some interest in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I never say, oh, I wish you would have done this when I was little. It would have been cool. But yeah,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
it's so fun watching them come in, and they have a whole new group of friends that they've created, um,
Oh, so
that are
important.
sometimes stronger than what they have at school, just because being an actor and doing shows takes a huge amount of courage. And
Mm,
I think, and as adults, we know that. And as adults, we know that, when we show that courage with the other people that are in our cast, that we become closer. But kids don't realize that, but we
right.
can see it.
Yeah.
We can
Oh
see that
gosh.
these
It's
students,
beautiful.
yeah, and they have program from like little kids all the way through teenagers, and there are some of them who are, upper grade teenagers who've been together in the same classes since they were 8.
That is so cool.
And that, just watching that is a lot of fun. um right before everything shut down, they were doing Urinetown,
Oh yeah. Oh
a
yeah.
teen performance of that, and I would just go into rehearsal like the last 30 minutes. It had nothing to do with it. I just had 30 minutes between the one class that I was doing was over, and then having to set the stage for the show that night.
Right.
And I would just go in there, and it's like, wow, yeah, these kids are talented and they're super, but it's the connection that they have
Mm-hmm.
that is, and it's really cool to be like a part of that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the energy, you can see it between them, between each, when they're just like talking. I love watching them just have conversations with
Yeah.
when they don't even when they don't even know that I'm watching
Yeah.
or listening. They're so smart. They're
Yeah.
so smart. And like you're saying, the courage, it's empowering. It really is. You
Yeah.
just feel good.
Yeah. I mean, actors are crazy.
There's my dogs.
Oh, it's fine. Hey, we are a dog and pet friendly podcast here.
Oh, well, you're
So
in the right place.
so I'm all for that. No, actors are crazy. And the fact that like the number one fear of the world is public speaking. And
Right.
we as actors make the choice to do
Right.
it.
Yeah. I used to say that therapists are in business, in high demand, mostly because of actors. Like the big wigs, it's just like and not only public speaking, we choose to dive into these emotional places
Mhm.
that, I mean, I love, love, love deep parts. I studied Meisner for many, many years, and it's one of my dearest gifts that I've from different coaches. Um, and just being able to utilize my own experiences, my own life, and pumping life into the characters' experiences. I'm that actor that sits down and writes pages, page after page after page about me as that character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've said this a couple times on this podcast, is that I typically just play slightly different versions of myself. I've never really played anybody that really stretches me and really makes me dive deep.
Yeah.
There was one theater that I did a lot of, like I was typecast as the loud announcer guy. That's just was the
That's what it,
that was the role I was. The
yeah.
character needed to be big and loud enough to fill, create the spotlight on me, and
yeah.
I can do
There
that.
you are. Yeah.
The one time where it came in real handy was when we did Annie Get Your Gun,
Oh, I love that show.
and
Oh my
I
gosh.
played Buffalo Bill.
Yeah,
Like,
of course you did. I love
so,
it.
but like even like the Cowardly Lion was not a stretch for me. I'm not saying I'm a coward, but there's just a part of him that is me. Like I didn't have to go diving to do that.
Sensitive.
But I would love to play some characters that really stretch me and do it in a theater in which I have time to actually do the diving, because I think sometimes some theaters it's like they just give you enough time to rehearse and get it on your feet and go, and not a lot of time to like, hey, let's sit down for the first 2 weeks and really figure out what this character is.
Right. Absolutely. And especially, those theaters that are pumping shows, they just don't have time, like you're saying. It would be really nice to, I love doing the first reading. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to finally put voices to those words and those characters, it really does make a difference. I read the play and then I go into the first reading and it's just a totally different world. And then all of a sudden everything starts coming together with the set, the costumes. And I just love that progression. It's so exciting. And
I'm one of those, and it sounds like you're one of these with me too, but I'm one of those weird people that likes rehearsals.
I love rehearsals.
Like my favorite part of the entire production is tech week. And
me too.
A lot of times people dread
maniacs.
it. I mean, there's a reason why there's a nickname for it that is Hell Week.
Yeah.
Which I used to say it like all the time, but I've actually tried to stop saying that just because it puts such a negative connotation. It's my favorite.
I love it.
I love Tech Sunday. Yeah. I love Tech Sunday at ACT, the 10-hour long.
Yeah.
I just love watching, because especially from the stage manager's point of view, since we're in the front the whole time.
Right.
We see, I've seen every rehearsal the way it is from the front. Right. And then I see that, those lights. I was in there when Brian, who was the lighting designer for Alice, created the end of the first act look. And I remember, and this was a couple days before actors came in for that. It was like the Friday before Tech Sunday. And he was behind me, and we've been friends for a couple of years, because we went to UNCA together.
Oh, cool.
And I was just writing in cues, not really paying attention. And he's like, John, watch. And he makes the whole house go black. And then he presses that cue and it happens. And then he just giggles behind me because he's so excited about what he just created.
Lighting is a whole other world. That is art in itself. Holy moly.
If I wasn't so terrified of heights, I think I would be a lighting designer. I just love I love the idea of telling the story through the lights.
Oh my gosh, me too. But same with the ladders. But once I get out the ladder, it's it's unplugging the lights, because the tape's been on it and you're pulling, and I'm like, I'm going to pull this so hard, I'm going to fly off this ladder. And you know what? That's just my luck anyway. So, but I had an amazing professor, Dan Raymond, at University of New Hampshire, and he's just this really tall, calm dude. And then he'd be like, just kiss it. And you're like, what? He'd be like, keep it simple, stupid, talking about lighting, and I love it because it's so true. And the more complex, just what it is. It kind of gets confusing and even messes up a story sometimes.
It definitely can. Of course,
Brian
I'm on this big like Hamilton kick right now. I've watched it. I've watched it 4 times in the last 3 weeks.
18 times every morning. I'm like, I got to do this. I love it.
As I think the way Lynn says it, the carving with lights that lighting designer did with that show. There, I watched it with a friend of mine the other day, and I like paused it at certain points, and I was like, "This is my favorite lighting design."
Oh,
Um,
it's incredible. And the dancing.
yeah,
Oh, I miss that is one thing as an adult. I miss those classes. That was another thing, not just the theater, but being in the studio.
yeah,
Same people. I danced since I was 3. So most of, I mean, of course people came and went, but there were a core group that we did it together,
yeah,
traveled through the years.
yeah. That's another one of those things that I kind of wish I was put in to try when I was little. Um, again, like my parents never put me in anything I didn't express
Sure.
interest in, but yeah, it would be I would be interested to know like what my career path would have been, had I taken dance and voice lessons when I was younger,
Oh,
and just like cultivate, because I'm actually a pretty decent dancer, especially for a guy my size. I think a big part of that is sports,
oh yeah.
because I played sports since I was like from like 4 to like 13, like completely all the
Just going,
time.
going, going. Yeah.
And then I stopped, but like in high school, I would play, like I started playing pickup basketball
Mm.
1 or 2 times a week. And I think that's why I have the coordination I do when I can do musical theater. And then I've played bass since I was in 6th grade, so I have the rhythm.
Have you?
Yeah, yeah,
So cool.
yeah. I started playing in 5th grade. I played the cello, so I can
All
learn how to
right.
play the bass.
Oh, that's
And then
incredible.
from 6th through 12th grade, I played upright classical bass
Yes.
bass. And then in 8th grade, I taught myself how to play bass guitar. And yeah, and I mean, I haven't played in a few years, but I could probably pick one up and,
Oh,
and
you're
play
going to be
something
able to.
somewhat.
Right.
Yeah, I've played the pit in a couple shows, which was a lot of
Nice.
fun.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and I can read music, which is very helpful, especially like
Yeah,
now,
I
like as a
cannot.
stage manager. Um, but yeah, it's just I have those two things. I don't necessarily look graceful when I dance, but
Well, there's
I,
plenty of parts that you don't have to be graceful
yeah.
in.
So I wanted to when I did Footloose, I like
Yes.
begged the choreographer to put me in the teen chorus, and she like begged the director to put me in the teen chorus. But they want because I just wanted to dance,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah. It's so freeing. Mm.
yeah, and they wanted my voice in the adult chorus, and I would have had to have shaved this, which I haven't done in like 5 years. So
You haven't? Oh, that's awesome.
no, I haven't been. I been clean shaven since I took my stage makeup class
Oh my God, I
in like
love stage
2015.
makeup.
Yeah.
I did
Yes.
zipper face
Oh, really?
for one of my classes. Yeah. Before it was huge. I don't know. All of a sudden, like the next semester, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm going to do zipper face. Did you see that on Pinterest?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" No.
No, we did. My final for that was wait. It was basically like create like a character or
Mhm.
something. Somebody did zipper face. I was initially going to do Phantom with like the full like layers of this, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the professor it was our final, and so we had 2.5 hours to do our final. But the class before it, we got to come in and practice.
Same. Oh, yeah.
And I got about 45 minutes into it, and the professor came up and was like, "There's no way you can do this in 2.5 hours to do
I'm
it
like,
right."
watch me.
And he was right; he was correct. And so I ended up doing the Tin Man, which I'd done before, but I did like an upgraded. It looked like a steampunk Tin
Oh,
Man.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was a
Oh,
lot
I
of
love
fun.
that. I always got the Tin Man. I played them 3 times, but it's because I tap. I love tap. That is my ultimate favorite.
Yeah, I've also been the Tin Man.
Oh yeah, you told me that. I remember. That's so fun.
Yeah, that's the show I've done the most. I've performed in it 3 times and been backstage once.
That's awesome.
And I played Tin Man, and I actually bought like cheap tap shoes because I wanted to
Nice.
tap in the dance break. Never
Right.
taken tap, but I talked to the choreographer. She's like, "I can teach you what you need to do for this break." I was
Oh,
like, "Perfect." So I bought
absolutely.
the tap shoes for like $40 or something,
Yeah.
and got to got on stage and the director didn't want me to wear them. I was
Oh
like, what?
man.
She's like, yeah, I don't want to hear you tap throughout the whole show. I'm like, I am made of tin.
But I am metal.
Yeah, we won't get into
Silly.
my dislike of that director, but
I've been there.
but yeah, it's I love doing that show just in general. I love the show and I love the characters in it.
Yes.
But I think my favorite part of the whole show doesn't even happen on stage. It's that costume change from being the character back to the farmer.
Oh my gosh. You know, and the first time I did that same, it was like, speed it up, everybody. I mean, it's just, that is a fun, quick change. But like with dancing, I did, my sister and I did so much, so many classes. Well, and the group the core group I was talking about, that there were people in the wings, just waiting for us. Cause it would be, some of them were just, I don't even know how we did that. How do you get a kid to change that fast? I mean, it's like different tights, everything.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah. When I did it as Cowardly Lion, there was actually a video. It's on my YouTube of us doing the quick change. Yes. Actually, it's like a 10-minute long video. And like the first 3 minutes are the Scarecrow's transformation from farmer to Scarecrow.
Nice.
The Tin Man's transformation from farmer to Tin Man, and then my transformation from farmer to, and then like the last few minutes is because what we did you get a chance to see it?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So as you know, like we went back as our farmer, like we went back to become our farmer, and then we had to get back into our costume for curtain call.
Oh, I watched it. I was like, oh yes.
Yeah, because Jerry wanted us to be in our characters for curtain call, which 100% agree with. And so we went back. I only had 2 people with me. Actually, no, I only had 1 person with me. Mark had 3. He was a Tin Man, which makes a lot of sense. And I felt so bad for mine because I sweat so much. There's even a part I think of the video, like at the end, she's just like
shaking it off.
Especially like I sweat enough anyway, but especially in that costume.
Oh, I believe it. How could you not?
Luckily, Karina was very nice and she made a cooling vest for me.
She is just so awesome.
Yeah, I almost thought about buying that from her. Like, can I just have this under every costume that I do?
Yeah, that's how I am. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I sweat.
Well, and especially having tattoos, I have to wear the long nude sleeves.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but then you put the Queen's costume on, and you're like, holy hot.
Yeah, I've only actually the Wizard of Oz was the only, since I've gotten this tattoo. Every role I've done is they're like, oh, we don't care if the character has tattoos. So like I've lucked out until I was the Cowardly Lion, and it actually had nothing to do with the lion. It was the farmer, because everybody got to roll their sleeves up, but I couldn't.
Not the time.
No farmer in the 30s were gonna have
not
tattoos.
The time.
And I even remember saying, oh, I should put my sleeves up, and Karina's like, well, you shouldn't have gotten a tattoo.
I know. I get crap. I've gotten crap for years, but
Well, when I first got mine, and this was the second one.
Don't you have one right up here?
Yeah, I have 6. So that's my ghost light.
Like that.
Yeah. So I have a cross on one shoulder.
Right. Showed me that one.
A sun on the other shoulder that says "You are my sunshine." That's for my mom.
Love it. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, this one's my memorial tattoo, the cross.
Yep.
Because it has my dad and my nephew's initials on it. And then I have this mountain range that continues on with with one of my best friends, Peyton. She has the continuance. It's not a matching tattoo, but when you put it together, it creates a mountain range. And then I got the 2 animals, the panda and the bulldog, that I got on opening night of Alice.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But when I first got my tattoo, I was like, I don't plan on being an actor again.
Same. And I kept collecting and doing shows.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that I just keep doing theater. But one of the things I try and do when I stage manage is I try and act in a show. at least once a year, or maybe
That's
once
good.
every couple of years, just because it's like every time I do a show, like there's something else I pick up. Like,
Right.
oh, you know what? I need to start doing this when I stage manage because my actors need this.
You know, stage managing is also an art, and I've done it once, and it's not for me. I'm not that organized. I'm just not. I'm organized with, you know, I'm very organized with papers and stuff, but like when it comes to, I'm like, oh my God, too much. And I'm a talker, clearly.
Yeah.
But you are so good. And I was telling one of my friends in Boston, I was like, you probably are one of the top 3 stage managers I've ever worked with.
Oh, well, thank you.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it. I was talking to him and I was like, I mean, you're not just organized, but you're a kind person while you're working. You're not guarded. You're just professional, which is nice because stage manager, you have to be approachable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And how many have you worked with that are not really approachable?
I've lucked out and I've had really good stage managers.
Oh, that's awesome.
When I've done shows that didn't have a stage manager.
Okay, well that counts then.
There's a theater that I worked for that neither show that I did with them had a stage manager. And it was just
is it
kind of
chaotic?
crazy.
Yeah.
But no, I've heard, horror stories of like terrible stage managers and mean stage managers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I haven't had too many, but I've definitely experienced it once or twice. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I've, with this lockdown, I tried my hardest to like not just sit around and do nothing. And so especially early on, I may have not done as many lately, but I would go on every stage manager's webinar that was happening.
Nice. Okay.
And so I've sat in on, just about any of the big like Broadway stage managers, and they're all super nice.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I love that.
you hear, I think maybe some people have like a certain opinion of like what a Broadway stage manager would be just because it says Broadway cutthroat and it's so like it's Broadway, and so like the shows have to be perfect. And I think that some of them are intense, and I think intensity can come across as meanness.
Sure.
Like they're like to the point, like this needs to happen here, 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 and here. Mm-hmm. And they're juggling 80 million things.
Oh my God, I love communication. Just say it.
Yeah, but they're always they're all so nice, and they're doing things that like you'd have to pay hundreds and thousands of dollars to go to a class to learn this stuff that they're just handing you for free. They're just like, here's the information. This is what I used to do.
Sharing is caring.
And one of them who was like my 3rd episode of this podcast, Matt Stern, he started the Broadway Stage Manager Symposium, which is in New York every summer, which is an amazing thing. And
have you been?
I went 2 years ago.
Sweet.
I went in 2017, and then they did it all online this year, and I did that as well.
Nice. Okay. Awesome.
And so he does a SM Tech Friday every Friday, where he just, which is free and open to everybody. And it's just the creators of all these like apps and websites and whatever. And they just come on for an hour and a half every Friday, and they just talk about whatever their app is. And there's been like my least favorite thing to do as a stage manager is line notes. And there's a line note app for like $15 you have on your iPad. And all you have to do is like you highlight it, and then you press the character, and it creates an email, and you just send it out at the end of the night.
Well,
there's like a blocking app, and all a virtual call board thing. So like if you were in a show with me, you would just get this app on your phone, and every time I upload on the website, it sends you an email or whatever.
I love it.
Yeah, or it sends you a notification on your phone.
Talk about convenient.
Yeah, and all those free. And I haven't missed one of those yet. I've missed one but because I registered for it, he just sends me the follow-up email.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's an amazing thing. And
I'm gonna have to check that out because I do love learning. It doesn't.
the only thing that I don't like about it, and it's no fault of their own, is just
Mhm.
everything is focused towards like Broadway level and like high
Right.
regional theater level. And it's one of those things like I'll read something and I'll like, well, ACT wouldn't do that, but it would be really nice to have when I'm a resident stage manager.
Yeah, I totally get
But there's
that.
also been some that I'm like, ACT needs this right now. Like I haven't
We need to
sent
have a
them because
meeting.
yeah, but I have like emails ready to be like, once everything opens back up, to be like, all right, Shanda, we need to read through this and get this for the school or
Oh my
for the
gosh.
theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, they're all amazing, and it's just, I think it's because it's such a small, like Broadway stage manager, like
Hmm.
there's only so many of them
Right.
that they don't they want to give out all the information. They're small, but they're not exclusive. They could easily
I
be like,
love
we
that.
don't want any more, because then we don't get jobs.
Right.
It's, yeah, if you're interested in this, you know
Let's
I
get the
had
arts out there, man.
yeah, I had one of the ASMs for Come From Away was on one of the webinars, and she mentioned something in the chat, so I sent her a direct message, and I was like, and she's like, yeah, let's talk next week. And we talked on
So
Zoom, and
cool.
she showed me like the calling script for it, and was like, this is it, and just let me ask questions. Yeah, it
Oh,
was,
that's cool. That's really cool.
yeah. And I think that's just like, not just stage managers, I think that's just something across the board with theater, because
I think so too.
there are other websites like USITT did one like every day at 4 for like 2
Really?
months. Yeah, and those are free too. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I think you can go on their YouTube page and see a lot of them. But yeah, it was just like, because the USITT national conference every year,
Mhm.
they couldn't have it, so
Right.
basically everybody that was going to present something
Mm.
still got the chance to present.
Oh my God. That's the thing. We are creative beings. So with this
Yeah,
pandemic, we're
yeah,
going to figure it out. We're going to
yeah,
figure it out.
yeah. The one thing that, because I was on the SM Tech Friday this last week, was the PSM for Phantom of the Opera in Korea, who
Nice. All right.
who they opened their regular schedule
Mm-hmm.
in like middle of March. They had shut down for 2 weeks because somebody tested positive. But other than that, they've done their shows with 1,000 people in the theater. That's because Korea is better at doing the pandemic than we are. But
Who isn't?
but like he talked, and then there was a, a stage manager, I think he was from Wicked, and he was like, first thing I want to tell you all is theater is going to come back.
Oh, yeah.
We've survived this before. It just may not come back as soon as we want it to. And I think that's what all of us, whether you're at the Broadway level or the community theater level or the education level, is holding on to, is that it's gonna come back.
It is. It's storytelling over and over and over. Different,
Yep.
You know what? I'm really looking forward to seeing, even 5 years sooner than that, but 5 years from now, what the writing and
Yeah.
the shows are going to be like from the pandemic, and what people are going to put in it. I mean, because there's so many different situations that that are limitless, where some are good and some are bad, and when you're living in a good situation during something like this, that's amazing. But also having theater on top of that.
Yeah.
I do down here and there because I'm like, oh, when is this? You got to rest. I notice that during those times, it's okay to just rest.
Yeah.
And jump back in, the next day.
Yeah. And I was talking to somebody earlier this week, where I'm really interested in seeing what the next 10, 15, in combination with this and Hamilton coming out.
Oh,
I think the
during Black
combination
Lives
of the
Matter is
two,
perfect.
and yes, and everything else that's happening, I think we're gonna have a whole nother like wave of just amazing playwrights
Mm-hmm.
and music writers and
Well, and now's the time, change is happening, and
yeah,
we're not going to let this go right now. And I think that also what to, piggyback on what you're saying is it's going to open so many doors for Black artists, Black writers, people of color, it's going to open so many doors just by making these changes, which, just makes me sad, but also very hopeful with,
yeah,
even though there's a lot of violence right now, I'm very hopeful for these changes,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. I hope that, or my goal is to be part of that somehow
Same.
in the
Yes.
future, whether it's stage managing, whether it's starting my own theater company,
Mhm.
which is still a big goal of mine, whether it's
You'll do
directing.
it. You'll do it.
Yeah, I just hope that I can, help push that change and help that change. And I know you will too.
Oh yeah.
Um, and we can do it together,
I was just thinking that. I was like, that'd be, a cool little brainstorming thing we could do every week or every other week and just get stuff going.
Yeah. Us and other creators and other,
Yes. You got to have a team.
I have a couple of folks that I know that run theater companies in town that I've worked with one for a couple shows or over a couple years, and I've known the other one. I haven't had a chance to work with her yet. Stephanie, who runs Different Strokes.
Oh my God. I want to
Um,
work with her so badly. She's
yeah,
incredible.
I think Different Strokes and American Myth Center, which is the company that I worked with the two Romeo and Juliet shows.
Right on. Oh yeah.
Think the combination of those two will just help push that change in this area, and they already have started that. And I think the two of them together,
Absolutely.
Steph and Aaron, will just
Well, and Steph is when I first moved here, it was probably like 3 years ago. I had an amazing audition for Different Strokes. And there was just somebody that beat me out, which is awesome. And I love working with actors better than me because it pushes me.
yeah,
And I remember her intensity and how much I was like, she knows her stuff,
yeah,
like she knows her stuff. I had a great audition. Well, you know what? It wasn't great. It might have been to her. I don't know, but it wasn't, I didn't feel solid. For the show she just did, what was it? With small cast. Why can't I remember? Rabbit Hole.
oh, Rabbit Hole at ACT, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And so I really, even if I don't get it, I like her directing me,
mm-hmm.
even for that 5-minute audition. I do take direction very well. That is something that, as an actor, I am proud of. I love getting direction.
Yeah,
I love it because it really does push me, and it
yeah,
makes me think, and it makes my track different, and even perhaps my gait.
yeah,
I hold myself.
yeah. I've wanted to work. I auditioned for her my first audition back at UNCA, because I went to UNCA for a while. I went away for a while, then I came back, and they do both of their the two shows they're doing in the semester. They audition the first week of school, and
Mm-hmm.
I auditioned for her and got a call back. And it was one of those where, yeah, it was great. Like I read the monologue. She's like, do it this way. I read it
Mm.
before I walked out. She's like, come back for the callback. It was a really strong callback. I didn't get the role, but I was in the run crew,
Oh, sweet.
and they let us go. They do the show, they
Oh,
do the
yeah.
run through, and then notes. The tech crew didn't have to be there, but I was there. Like, I just knew that I wanted, and I'm like that just about anywhere. Like, I'm always that actor who's at rehearsal when he's not called. Like for Wizard, I didn't miss a rehearsal.
Really
No, I mean, I was, only not called like 4 different rehearsals, but
good stuff.
I was there every rehearsal. I wasn't there every rehearsal for Miracle when I did Miracle on 34th Street, but I was
Mhm.
there on nights that I wasn't called.
Right.
I like to learn.
Me too.
And I just
And
like being in the
watching
room.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whether it's the actors or if it's like a director that I really like, and I just want to
Yes.
sit and watch the director. Like Candace is an amazing director.
Oh my God. I could just talk about her all day. She knows her shit stuff.
Yeah.
Too, you know, it's
Yeah.
everybody knows I have a bad mouth, but I'm keeping it under control right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep it. I try and keep it clean on the.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's okay. I think that one will be fine.
That slipped. Yeah.
But yeah, Candace
Keeping
is
it
great.
real.
And I got to be the assistant director for her for Frozen Junior
No kidding.
at ACT. Yeah. And it
Oh
was
my gosh,
a
you did
lot of just like sitting back and watching her work. And then she was like, hey, yeah, you can, whatever scenes you want to do.
What I love about her is when she's directing and she's explaining something, I visualize. That's how I think. When you say chair, I picture a chair, not the word. And so I can see her visualizations, such as when she's like with the Queen of Hearts. Hey, I want from Matilda, Miss Trunchbull. It was a mix between that and a couple other things, but I knew exactly what she was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. She was, I wish the show got shut down a week before it opened. So, because the way the kids do, they do like 8 weeks of rehearsal, then 2 weeks of tech, and then a weekend of shows. And we had just gotten through the first week of tech. So the next week, which was Monday, was going to be getting into costume,
right,
and stuff like that. And she wasn't there because she had she couldn't be at rehearsal for whatever that day. And so I ran the full run through. And it was just like, I did that. I gave notes, and I was like at the end of giving notes with these like 25 like middle school students.
Oh my God.
Just looking at me and then like them looking at me. I start giving the notes. They look confused. I give them, I was like, explain it. And they're like, oh, I got it. And like, just seeing them like click on, I was like, oh, I like this directing thing.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love directing. That's also I love putting actors in, when I'm directing, I love putting actors in positions that really push them. And sometimes, obviously, when I do it, we talk about it before, because I don't want to put anybody in an uncomfortable position. One of the scene that I directed in college was, it was between these two, T for Sympathy. It was between two friends, two guys. One was a little bit softer. This is in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s. He's a little softer, plays the guitar, has longer hair. His roommate, his dorm mate is, preppy. He's part of the dormitory boys, and a lot of people are calling him, the longer haired, I can't remember, Tom and something, a fag. And my friend that played that character was just coming out. And the kid that played his friend, he was a freshman actually in college, and I just had a feeling that he could really push himself. So as a director, when you put something in between two people, it automatically puts tension between them. It automatically does. And so this was a very, very intense scene. And toward the end, you want that arc and to come back down just a tiny bit. I had them do this exercise where it was like, you bang your hands, and I wanted Max to call my friend Roni a fag. And it like, even right now, it starts to like get me emotional, because it's like that just coming out is just so hard anyway. And then even though it's a safe space, it was like, watching this, and he was like saying his line, and I was like, okay, is that how you would react when somebody's calling you a fag? And I was like, Max, call him a fag again. And it was like bang, rah! And eventually it was so powerful. And I called rehearsal after that. It was that magical, and we didn't mean to do it. That was even the better part, because it just genuinely and generically happened. Yes, I had the lead of the exercise, but just watching them connect in a safe but scary way at the same time,
Yeah.
But that really gets that's when it's, for me, so like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think over the last year or so, I've really wanted to step into the directing world. Not like full time and not like
Sure.
giving up stage management, but
Right.
I've had multiple conversations with somebody at ACT over the last year, where I would just walk into her office and sit down. And was like, what am I directing next year? Like,
Yes.
Or she'll come up to me and is like, what do you want to do? And we go back and forth. And
oh my God. Yes.
I've always been a good blocker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, from years of acting and stage managing and understanding like that, but obviously directing is more than just blocking. And so I think it's just having something that I can mold and do. And so what I did after we did our performance of Little Women, about a week or two later, I was like, well, I need something. So what I did was, I have the script for Charlie Brown, which is one of my all-time favorite shows.
So good.
And I read the script and I listened to the music, and I, on my little yellow pad, I started writing down my concept of the show and what I wanted the set to look like. And I have, I drew out a floor plan and an elevation for it. And I just started blocking the show, and just now I'm just like, I just need to cast in a place who's willing to let me do it.
Right. I know that feeling. I know that feeling.
And I think, before everything shut down, I was probably going to direct something for the kids at ACT, because at ACT, like, you can't, my understanding is you can't direct a main stage until you've directed one of the kids shows.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
The
and
kids
so
are crazy to direct. So if you can do I feel like if you can do the kids, adults are, although,
yeah. And I was, sometimes 25 kids is way easier than 10 adults, but
depends on the crew.
Yeah. But also, like, we were talking about me picking a show for 35 Below to do.
Oh, cool. I really like that space.
Yeah. It's, have you acted in that space?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did Almost Maine in that space, and that's
a great show.
It is a great show, and it's a scary space to act in. Like, I think I was more nervous to act in 35 Below than I ever have in the main stage.
Yeah, because you're sitting in their laps.
Yeah.
They can see everything.
Yeah.
They can see your eyeliner if you wear it wrong, You're like, I can't pay attention to this scene. Her eyelash is falling off.
Yeah. Yeah. I did the last scene in Almost Maine. The snowmobilers. That one.
Yeah.
That was a little awkward.
I'm sure it was.
Even though like we stopped at like the Long Johns, it was still like, first of all, it was very hot. It was,
and we all know how
there's like 12 layers just
that you have to keep.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I forgot about that.
Yeah. It's a good one. Heather and I did that scene, and it was a different Heather, not you and I, which would have been fun. Heather Bronson and I did it. And it was great fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So, I knew that you worked with kids, and I guess I didn't realize that you started your own company with kids. And so right now, do you just stick with like the camp process?
Yeah, and I took a little time off just because, to be honest, it's the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them really treated me like a glorified babysitter. And it's different when you don't have your own space, because some of these parents are just dropping their kids off.
Mhm.
And which is fine, because like I said, I love having them in this safe zone and this fun zone and loving zone. But at the same time, there is nothing worse than getting on stage and not knowing your lines, right? I mean, that is the most frightening. We have dreams about that as actors, that we don't know our lines, or, I mean, so when a child goes up and doesn't know their lines because they didn't get any help at home, none. And I understand parents are busy. I get that, but I have lots of parent friends. But that's really detrimental to that kid, because they're nervous anyway, and then they get up there in front of people and everybody's staring at you. No, it just kills me. So of course I would work really, really hard with the ones that weren't able to get that attention at home. I did have one parent that literally was clenching her fists and jumping up and down. I wasn't sure if I was with her daughter or her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she was upset because one of the other parents had told me that she thought I was too disorganized, which is fine. It's a new company. Of course I'm a little disorganized. You have to work through those kinks.
Yeah.
And so one of the parents told me that, and she heard, and she didn't get upset with them, which is fine. But she came to me, and I said, and I told her, I said, that kind of hurt my feelings. This is, like I just said, this is a brand new company. I would really appreciate it if you didn't, put that out under my name, because it is a little it's just a little, like, demeaning.
Yeah.
Demeaning. Because word of mouth still is the number one, marketing. So I was a little shocked at the tantrum. So were the other parents, and I kept saying, can we go outside so that it's not in front of the kids?
Yeah.
I just, so that sort of, that really did put a damper in between my shows. And finally, after the next show, I just was like, I'm going to take a little break and get these camps started. And I give out a scholarship every few camps. So, because generally a lot of the kids come back, which is really cool.
Yeah. Well, if you ever need a stage manager,
well, I was just thinking, actually, I was like,
or if you want to produce Charlie Brown and need somebody to direct it, let me know.
Oh my God.
It's a great show because there's only 6 people in it.
So good. I know.
It's only 6 people.
That's it. And if you get a good group.
Well, my initial plan was to, and I've changed this, but my initial plan was to do it in 35 below, because, like, there's rules of, like, the cast can't be larger than this, but, like, because you can only have 40 people in there and stuff like that. Well, I was like, it's a 6-person cast, a pianist, and then somebody running the board, and I can run the board. So, that's 8 people. And then, it's fine. You can block that show in that small of a space.
Yes, you can.
Although it is a little bit detrimental, which is why I have changed my mind about doing it there. But I was going to do it with all teenagers.
Right on.
So I was going to have teenagers do a 35 below show.
Wow. All right.
So it's like,
that's different. I like it.
Right. And so it's more than just, like, which I love their Tanglewood program, their after school program. It's really great. But I think it's just, like, there's not a ton of, although this year Wizard of Oz had a lot of teenagers. They did a lot of shows that were going to have a lot of teenagers, but this next season wasn't going to be as teenage centric. And so I just like the idea of them just having another outlet to come to rehearsal and work with each other and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was my idea. because like all of my acting was in high school, was like in my high school, but I did all
Right.
my tech stuff at the regional theater in town.
Oh,
And
nice. Okay.
so yeah, I got to do both. A lot of times I was doing both at the same time. And so yeah,
Which
so
is
I
why
actually
you're a
learned
good
all
stage manager.
yeah, I learned all my tech stuff from like professionals. And so, and working with people who'd been on
Boom.
Broadway. Yeah.
Yep. But that's how you really hone
Yeah. Oh yeah.
your craft. Um, just working with those people that you watch and you're like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
I want to get there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And now like now that I know more about like what stage managers do, like I
Mhm.
wish I would have been able to know more about like what they all did.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because they have people come in who are equity stage managers
Yeah.
every now and then at that theater, and I'm just like, well, that's where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, I'm actually working on hopefully going to grad school for
Nice.
stage management. So
Oh my God. You're going to be, I'm telling you, I already told you. I already
it's
blew
gonna
up
be.
your head. You're so good.
Well, I
But I'll keep
appreciate
doing
that.
it. I'll keep doing it.
Well, I mean, if I could have a cast full of Heathers, that would be great. Like actors like you make this job easy and fun, as
Oh my
easy
gosh,
as
thank you.
stage manager can be. But
Sure.
it's like I never had to worry about you. I like knew you'd be there when we told you to be there. Um, you know you were where you needed to be on stage at all times. Like I just never had to worry about you, and that's what the majority of that cast
That cast was
for Alice.
awesome. We were talk about a good group.
Yeah, I sometimes had to tell Sadie to get somewhere, but other than that, I
Reel it
can't.
in.
I really can't fault a 13-year-old who
Nope.
was on stage for all 115 pages of a script. Like
And
if she wanted to
kept
take
it down.
and if she wanted to take 30 extra seconds to get to stage, I was okay with that.
It was fine. Yeah.
um well, I think it's time to move on to what I like to call speed round until I get a better name for it.
Okay. I
I'm
like
just gonna
speed
ask you
rounds.
some questions.
Okay.
If you feel like you need to explain any of your answers, feel free, but you don't necessarily have to. What's your favorite show you've ever been in?
Favorite show I've ever been in was probably actually I played Annie Sullivan, Miracle Worker. I loved doing that show. That was probably one of my favorites. Yeah, and the Music Man. I just had fun with that one. That was I love the Music
Who
Man.
are you in Music Man?
Alma.
I
Mhm.
was the countertenor in
Were
the
you
in the
nice?
quartet. This is
Nice.
back in the day before I worked summer camp, so I still had like a really high voice. And
Yes.
it's funny is I was the biggest of us all,
Oh
like
yeah.
the broadest of all of us,
Hmm.
and our bass was like the smallest of all of us, which was really funny. And so it was always a big laughter when I would hit ice cream like way up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
that was a fun show. What is your favorite show you've ever seen?
Favorite show I've ever seen is Rent or Wicked. Oh,
Hmm.
that's hard. Miss
You,
Saigon. All right, that was one of the best. Miss Saigon on Broadway. That really was. That was probably like 97 and that
mhm.
cast, maybe 96. That cast. Ah, it was so good. The lighting and I knew the music, but I hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
And the way they set it up was really awesome. So
What are your dream roles? And I always ask this in two ways. One
okay.
is the non-realistic one, like it won't ever happen, maybe because it's like a different race or a different gender or whatever.
Mhm.
My example is always like my non-realistic dream role is Cole Housewalker Jr. from Ragtime.
All right.
Ragtime's my all-time favorite musical, which is not always on people's list of favorite musicals, but
I like it. It's a good one.
it's amazing. But Cole Housewalker Jr. is my non-realistic. I will never play that role. And then like my realistic ones are like The Beast and Beauty and the Beast or Shrek
Yeah.
or any of those. So what are yours?
Okay. So dream role would actually be Lafayette in Hamilton right now. I would love to play Lafayette and Jefferson. And so that won't happen. So then, some that I really would like to play. I want to be in Stop Kiss. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's just two, it's actually just two characters. I'm not going to spoil it because you would like it. I think you should read it. It's really intense, the emotional journey with it. And also it goes into everything from sexuality, confusion, love, adventure. So I would love to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you have an electronic copy of that, send it my way and I'll read it.
For sure.
Have you ever heard of The Sunset Limited?
No.
It's a 2-person, it's like 46 page or something like that script of just 2 people in a living room talking about things from like living and
love it.
God and whatever. I stage manage that. That's one of I'm working on a monologue from there.
If you have that, send it along. I would love to read that. I love one-woman shows too. So
interesting. I don't know. That would be an interesting challenge if I could do a one-man show.
I've done a half an hour one, and that's a lot of talking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would love to do Santaland Diaries.
Santaland Diary. I feel like I've heard of that. What?
35 Below does it almost every year.
That's where I'm okay. I was like,
it's a one-man show of like an elf who works for Macy's.
Oh yeah.
And he's just angry about the world. It's one of those. It's a one-man show that's funny.
I love it. Yeah, that's awesome.
My home theater did it a lot. They would do because they've done Best Christmas Pageant Ever during the Christmas time every year for the last 29 years.
29.
Yeah, and it's one of those where it's just like a rite of passage for kids at that theater. It's like most of the teenagers who do stuff there started out as like a baby angel, and then the boys were the shepherds and the girls were the angel choir, and then you work your way up to be a herdman. Yeah. So, but they would do that. They would do that at like 7:30, and then at 10:30 they would do Santaland Diaries.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool. You may have answered this with your last one. But what is your favorite, like most underrated shows? Like you just really love it, but like most people haven't heard of it, or they've heard of it, but they haven't watched it just because.
Right. Let's see. I just read a couple. I love the effect of gamma rays on Man in the Moon marigolds. That is a wacky show. It's a lot of, there's a lot of kids in it, some adults. That was one of my first audition pieces, was a monologue from there. And I used it. I was a high schooler, but I used that monologue until I was like 27.
Yeah.
But because I could play that. I could play really young. I can also play older. I feel like I've come into my own character now, my type.
Yeah.
When I was younger, it was just, I was all over the place. I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know what? I also love vagina monologues. That is a powerful play. And when people hear the word vagina, they're like, either like, ah! Or they're like, what is this? And they think it's going to be some sexual show. And yes, there's some sexuality to it, but there's so much depth for women.
Yeah.
And so much information. So that's a fun one. I assistant directed that one, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. Somebody I worked with did that this past, like right before everything shut down.
Yep. February is usually.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. And then the last question, which is the question I ask everybody, and it always puts people on the spot and they have no idea how to answer it, but it is okay. There's no wrong answers to this.
Okay.
Why theater?
Why theater? Because I feel loved and accepted, and I just like the spotlight, man. I love performing. It's like give it to me. You want the camera? Okay, come on. I'll show you my face. Yeah, it's powerful, and I really, that's why it's like a really good drug, but a positive one. Something that just runs through your veins.
Yeah, I've said that for years. I've said I would say theater is my drug.
Oh yeah, easy. You can't, like you said earlier, right in the beginning of this conversation, you always go back to theater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's home.
It gives you a high. There's this high after a show.
My God, yeah.
And I'm always hungry after it. So like those.
Yeah, I want a beer and some food. That's what I like.
Yeah.
No, I don't eat before a show.
Me neither.
I cannot.
Mm-mm. I've over the past few years, I've gotten to the point where like if it depends on the role.
That's true. Yes.
Like usually like if I'm ensemble in a musical, I can eat like 30 minutes before show. I'll be fine.
But
like like as the Lion, I had to have some food just to give me energy, but like I would stop at a certain point.
It's as you get older, it's really good to find those things that really do help you on stage. Because we really do, actors are lazy people. That I had plenty of coaches that said that. Now, granted, nobody take this really like to heart, but we like to create. I don't want to work at a job from 9 to 5. That's me. A lot of people can do that, but I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Yeah, I do. I have to. But luckily the job that I have, and the supervisor that I have allow me to do the creative stuff as well.
And that's awesome. I think having balance is just so important.
Yeah. And part of my job is performing anyway. So like, cause because I bring, hundreds of 100 students to campus, and I typically give an info session, and that's just my hour of performance.
Yes. That'll knock you out sometimes.
And pretending to be awake at 9 o'clock in the morning when it's cold outside, in front of 80 eighth graders is a performance within itself sometimes.
I'm sure.
But it's where it's where I use my my projection and my enunciation that I've learned being an actor. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, and thanks for
John, thank you so much.
Shoot me a message on Instagram saying I want to be on the podcast.
Absolutely.
So anybody listening, if you are within any part of theater, hit me up, and you can find me on Instagram, which is standby_go_podcast. Shoot me a DM and I will get you on. Ask Heather. I think she sent me on Friday. I think she's like, let's do it. And
it's Monday.
Here we go.
We rocked this out.
Yeah. But it's been fun sitting down, and I don't think I've seen you since Alice. So it's been a while.
It has. Feels like yesterday though. I loved that show.
And thanks to everybody who's listening. You can always catch us on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and also on YouTube. So until next time.
Thank you for having me. Bye.